So today another episode of Things to Avoid, and today we're going to be dealing with credit cards. And what we are trying to avoid is considering a credit card as a source of revenue. That's something you should avoid. You should avoid considering a credit card as a source of revenue. Now, generally, a credit card is issued by a financial institution and enables a cardholder to borrow funds from the institution. So the keyword, it allows the cardholder to borrow funds from the institution. So technically it's a loan. Technically you're borrowing the money from the institution. And you could borrow, you're basically going to be borrowing up to a limit, which we normally refer to as the credit card limit, the ceiling. So generally my philosophy is you should really only spend what you have. You should only spend what you have, not what's on a credit card. If you want to buy something, you really should have that money available rather than going to a credit card and actually utilizing that. As a matter of fact, although you are allowed to use your credit card to do a lot of purchases within the country and make payments, pay for your bills and all this kind of stuff, pay for gas, some real valid reasons or uses of this credit card is really like for international purchase. If you have to purchase something online, then you could use your credit card because that's the only way to purchase it. That's the only way to pay. Or if you are spending vacation in another country and you don't have access to actual, currency, or even if you have access to currency, is not adequate to support your vacation, then a credit card would be a very good source of funds for that purpose. Because you are outside of the country, you are in another country, and you need to actually have access to funds. So that's another good use for purchases online, making payments online for purchases from companies abroad, or even during vacation to support your vacation, to buy food, pay for hotels and so on. But outside that, purchasing gas at the pump in your country, although you could use a credit card, it's not really, I don't see it as a really valid reason to have a credit card. If you are earning a salary, you should be able to budget sufficiently what comes out for gas, what comes out for groceries and so on, and you should be able to make those payments from what you have, not from the credit card. Now, whatever is utilized from the credit card has to be repaid. And for those of you all that may have a credit card and may have been late on payments, there is a deadline date. There's a deadline date where after that date, there is going to be interest applied to what is outstanding. So you're supposed to, if you utilize $10,000 from your credit card, and the billing date, the deadline for payment is say the 6th of every month, by the 6th you are supposed to make sure that that $10,000 is back on the card. Otherwise, the institution would charge interest on what is outstanding. So it has to be repaid. So that's something you should avoid. Considering a credit card. And note what I said. Considering a credit card as a source of revenue. Nothing is wrong in getting a credit card. But abuse of the credit card is what gets persons in trouble. You should have a particular reason why you need a credit card, and it should be for a valid reason such as international travel, payments, purchase online. Those are valid reasons. But just having it to make sure that you have access to funds, that you may be out of money every month and you need a credit card to make sure that you have access, additional access to funds, that is not a good reason. You have to be able to manage your income, manage your expenditure, and avoid the reliance on a credit card. And when you begin to rely on the credit card, that's what generally gets persons in issues. So I'm gonna have a couple of questions, but before that, I want to give you all a bonus point on credit cards. If you were to look at your credit card and you have online banking and you were to check the real-time balance, now there's the credit card limit, the amount that you are allowed to spend, that you are set up to spend on that credit card, the max you could spend. So if it's a $30,000 credit card, then it's $30,000 is your limit. Most institutions do not allow you to go over that limit. Many times when you spend $30,000, if $30,000 is your limit, then you don't get anything more than $30,000. You can't, overdraw. But if you look at the real-time balance, it is never matching, or most cases it actually is not matching your limit. It actually is a bit more than a limit. So if it's 40,000 is the limit, the real-time balance might be 44,000. And the reason why the real-time balance does not match the actual ceiling, the actual limit, is because when you normally make transactions, you do transactions, any transaction in card, many times an extra 6 or 7% is deducted from the credit card. And at the end of the transaction, when it completes, that 6 or 7 is returned by the completion of the transaction. So to make sure that you could utilize your full limit without any interruption, the credit card, the financial institution tends to add that 6 to 7% onto the card. So if your limit is 40,000 and you are going to make a purchase that actually requires 40,000, then you could get the 40,000 utilized, but it will actually deduct an extra $3,000 to $4,000, which will be returned after the transaction is completed. So it's ready to make sure that your transaction up to the limit of your credit card can occur without any problems. A mistake persons do a lot is they see their limit is 30 or 40,000, but the real-time balance, they don't check to see the real-time balance. The real-time balance is you really need to check your real-time balance to know what's the max, the overall limit on your card. Because what persons do, if they don't look at the real-time balance and they keep utilizing the card, and the limit is 40,000 and the real-time balance is 44, they're going to actually utilize 44,000, just swiping, purchasing. They're going to utilize 44,000, and what happens when they do that? They assume that when they use up the max, that it actually is 40,000 they utilize. They think that what they utilize is the credit card limit, but they don't realize that it's the extra plus, the limit plus the extra that to sustain the transaction was utilized. And when they are repaying, they just repay the limit, 40,000, but unknowing to them, they should have actually paid 44,000, which would have brought back the real-time balance to what it was at the start. And they end up incurring interest. So this is something real. Always when you have a credit card, have online banking, go and look at the real-time balance and know what your real-time balance is. And you should be checking after every transaction. Check what your real-time balance is and then repay it. So let's get into the questions for viewers. Somebody said, should I use credit cards to purchase groceries? Although you could use credit cards to purchase groceries, and sometimes persons utilize credit cards for purchasing groceries because they get points for using their credit card. If you could manage that activity with your credit card, then okay. But if you do not think you have discipline to monitor it, you should avoid. Limit the credit card to online purchases or vacation. Avoid using a credit card for gas, for buying junk food, for buying phone cards. You could use the credit card to do that, but you should get into the habit of using it because it technically is a loan. You're borrowing funds from the institution, and I believe you should only spend what you have. Don't spend what's on the credit card unless it is international travel or online purchases. But you are allowed to do that, but best practices, keep it to that. Next question someone had: is credit card, I'm trying to see what is credit card free money? Somebody said, is credit card free, like free money? No, it's not like free money. It's, you are borrowing this money from the financial institution via the credit card, and you have to repay it. And if you do not repay it by the deadline, you would be charged interest, and that interest will keep accumulating until you clear the entire debt. So it is a debt. It is a debt. It is, you are borrowing. So it's not free money, it is a loan. Consider it a loan. So I hope this was beneficial to you all, and I'll see you all on the next episode.